feel like my glasses are the main issue, but the glasses are kind of the whole thing. So how do I eliminate glare? Okay. Hello everyone, thank you for joining. It's lovely to have you. My name is Bob Hewis, and I am launching myself into the YouTube sphere. Okay, I have to keep remembering to look into the camera. I'm just so taken by myself on the monitor, I can't help it. Just a little bit about myself. I'm from a tiny village outside of a town called Grimsby in England, which is in Lincolnshire, which I'll put here somehow. And you may know the name Grimsby because there was a Sacha Baron Cohen film called The Brothers Grimsby, which did not paint Grimsby in a very good light, but then it's sometimes difficult to paint Grimsby in a good light. Anyway, I am a great lover of history and museums and galleries and all of those wonderful cultural things. I'm also a great lover of drag and musical theatre and performance expression, all of that kind of thing. I studied history at Cambridge for my undergrad, and then I moved to New York City when I was 21, New York City, to study a master's in historic objects, museum curation, museum studies, curatorial practice, all of that kind of thing, wrapped up into one, at a wonderful place called Bard Graduate Centre. So now that we're well acquainted, and we're not strangers anymore, I'm a Libra. That's important, obviously. I'm a Libra sun, Virgo moon, Scorpio rising, which I didn't know until a couple years back and kind of blew my mind and maybe explained some things. Anyway, so I haven't quite decided what this channel is going to be. As I said, I moved to New York City to do my master's. I then graduated from my master's a couple weeks back, and I'm currently, unemployed. So I now have lots of time on my hands, lots of energy, lots of passion for lots of different things. And I thought, why not now share that passion and love with all the beautiful people who are here, all two of you right now. So I feel like what I'm going to be talking about is just kind of the things that I like: museum, music, drag, that kind of vibe. That kind of is probably everything that I'll be talking about. And I'll just be rambling about it. So the first thing I'm going to be talking about is, to nobody's surprise, perhaps, Cowboy Carter. Because I feel this album has not gotten the love it deserves. Am I being crazy? I feel like Renaissance came out. And yes, I say Renaissance. I'm sorry to my American friends. I know I should probably say Renaissance, but I am British and I can't be stopped, so you can't stop me. I will say Renaissance. Anyway, I feel like Renaissance came out and pretty immediately was solidified as like album of the year, if not album of the decade, and for good reason. It was a masterpiece, a poetical look at the queer origins of house music, of ballroom, of the underground, very New York City, okay? And so that album, every song on that album is basically like tattooed onto my soul. That kind of glitzy, urban, underground, queer vibe that Renaissance was rooted in was everything I was looking forward to about moving to New York City. So it was very important to me, as it was important to, clearly, most people on the planet. Whereas on the flip side, I feel like with Cowboy Carter, there was the initial camp factor of like the country album of it all, like people being like, oh my gosh, me on my ranch, fracking, listening to Cowboy Carter, wearing my cowboy hat, I'm in my country era, that kind of vibe, which was all funny. But then the album itself, I feel like when it came out, people were kind of ambivalent about it, or at least just from what I heard, there was a lot of kind of, I don't want to say ickiness, but there was a lot of trepidation around the amount of Americana about Cowboy Carter. The imagery is very American. She now preparing for what I assume is going to be the Cowboy Carter tour. Lots of the promotional material for that is also looking extremely American. I saw this meme that was like, girl, this is gonna look like a Trump rally. This is gonna end up looking like a Trump rally. And I was like, it kind of is. And that's not good. But I want to, maybe what I'm doing here then is not just giving my unsolicited opinion on Cowboy Carter, but showing how somebody who is not from America has found beauty and meaning in the storytelling of Cowboy Carter. And maybe that's what I'm doing. Now, nobody is asking me in my small corner of England to explain to you why an album by one of the biggest superstars on the planet is good. No one's asking for that, but I just wanted to talk on it, share my love for it, and also this is my channel and no one could stop. So I wanted to just run through quickly some of the tracks that stand out to me that have, moved me, or some of the tracks that I love, maybe just because they're fun tunes, or because there's a really beautiful meaning that I'm seeing in them, that I'm interpreting. So yes, that's the plan. Now I need to think about how exactly this is going to be structured. Or not. I mean, honestly, I don't. I'm not going to. No, I'm just going to ramble. But I should probably have the track list up. Okay, so the first track, American Requiem. To begin with, the name, American Requiem, but also American, because it seems as if she puts the two I's to be like, this is number 2, this is Renaissance 2, American Requiem. The first thing to notice is that the name Requiem is defined as a mass for a dead person, a musical service or composition in honor of the dead. That's the meaning, or at least that's the definition given by Merriam-Webster Dictionary. Even without knowing that, you can feel from the music that there is a religious, devotional, sacramental sensibility surrounding this. It's a elegy, it's a eulogy. And so to begin with, even before the song starts, from the name we know that this is not a celebration. This isn't an ode to America, it's a requiem, a reflection on, it's a reflection on, and in everything that is wrapped up in that, a criticism of, a critical eye on what's gone right, what's gone wrong with this American experiment. It's so philosophical. It's like, nothing is real. Nothing is real. Nothing really is. This country does not exist. It is a dream. It's an experiment. It's a thought experiment. It exists in our imagination because we all believe it to exist. For things to stay the same, they have to change again. So this is very much, and it's of its time. It's of its moment right now. There is much, not just in America, but across the world, that is having to change. Things are having to give because these old systems and structures that were kind of dreamed up in the 19th century and the late 18th century when America was being founded, these systems are having to turn over because they don't fit the current ways of thinking, they don't fit the current ways of being. And so then big ideas are buried here. It's all of that. This isn't anything new that I'm explaining right now. I just want to say again, I'm using American Requiem to get us into my kind of broader senses and feelings around Cowboy Carter. But then big ideas are buried here. The big ideas she's talking about, democracy, equality, prosperity, all of those are the big ideas that are buried in America. It could mean that they failed, that those big ideas have been buried because they didn't work. That's one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it is these big ideas are memorialized here. They have been buried in the very ground of America because they were maybe lies to begin with. They maybe were not ever really the aim of the American nation as it was being founded. There might have been other aims from the people who were founding the nation, like making money themselves, protecting their own capital, and that those big ideas were ways of selling what they wanted and the ways of packaging it to the people. I also just want to make a note on the music. When I think about the music of Renaissance, everything about it feels like you are in a club. There is something about the way the music is constructed that feels pressed in, claustrophobic in a way, urban, tight spaces, packed rooms, sweaty air. Like that is the essence of the atmosphere of Renaissance. Jostling bodies and love-making and all of those things that feel so heated and heated, passionate, and close. That is the essence of Renaissance. Oh, cute. And then as we move into Cowboy Carter, or technically because Cowboy Carter was meant to be released first, if you think of it as Cowboy Carter as what should have come before Renaissance, Cowboy Carter's music is vast and open. It's airy. It calls to mind, at least for me, the landscapes of the West, the frontier, New Mexico. Okay, and maybe the references I'm putting forth are not really accurate or make sense because my sense of America is different from an American. But this is just what happens in my mind. I think of like the landscapes that I see in Thelma and Louise, these vast, open landscapes with potential, all of this potential. And there's something about the first few guitar strums that seems to raise a curtain on that landscape. The vastness of America, the potential of it, the beauty of the ground itself. And so when that's being accompanied with those big ideas are buried here, that focus on the kind of material quality and the aesthetic experience, the embodied experience of America, everything roots your mind in the land itself. It is so grounded in that way. I just wanted to note that because it happens every time I listen to American Requiem. Those first guitar strums, I hear them echoing across arid, red sandy horizons. So this isn't going to be a track-by-track review or analysis of Cowboy Carter because that would literally take me forever, and I don't feel that's actually what I'm trying to do in this video. So I'm not going to talk about Blackbird, but I do want to say that everybody's just like, why is there a Beatles? Why is there a Beatles cover? I don't see it just as it's not just a cover. Okay, well here I am talking about Blackbird. Anyway, some of the themes I see in Cowboy Carter is Beyoncé's own struggle between fame and everything that demands of her, and her sense of rootedness in her home, her family, everything that she has built for herself that is not her stardom, everything that she built for herself, which is her love for her family and her sense of identity as a Southern woman. And so bearing that in mind, I think Blackbird is a beautiful song to use because it was written by these boys from Liverpool who were dreamers themselves, who created a stardom and a fame for themselves that they could kind of barely cope with. And the sense of a blackbird with broken wings, learning to fly. First of all, it's this natural imagery again, this sense of waiting to fly, the pain of fame. Oh, I didn't want to Dr. Seuss that, but yes, the painful aspects of what fame demands of you. And this goes straight into 16 Carriages. Now, I love 16 Carriages. When she released Texas Hold'em and 16 Carriages, I listened to Texas Hold'em first and I was like, oh God, what is this honky-tonky, spittoon, tobacco chewing shenanigans? This is not for me. I was like, I am not doing the Cotton Eye Joe. This is not the vibe I needed. But then I listened to 16 Carriages and I was like, oh, I said, let me pause. Thinking on those themes of fame, home, the conflict and battle between them. 16 Carriages I first read as kind of a funeral procession. 16 carriages, one with a hearse in it and then cars behind it. 16 carriages driving away while I watch them ride with my dreams away to the summer sunset on a holy night, on a long back road, all the tears I fight. But when I first heard it, I heard it as on a long black road, all the tears I fight. Like, there was a darkness to it, there's a sadness to it, which is also reflected in the kind of dirging, melancholy, procession-like music that accompanies the lyrics. It's been umpteen summers and I'm not in my bed, on the back of the bus and a bunk with the band, going too hard, gotta choose myself, underpaid and overwhelmed. So, I mean, yeah, underpaid and overwhelmed is maybe a little on the nose, but all that imagery up until then about, so now we're no longer in necessarily Louisiana or, you know, the country that she's been talking about or singing about, or that the whole album is about. But we're on a tour bus. Now we're experiencing the American landscape in a different way, through Beyoncé's eyes as she sees it from the back of a tour bus, not in her own bed. It's just a fascinating way of thinking about how she's seeing this fame and this moment as being something that removes her from home. It removes her from her roots and the things that she knew, her family. And there's a pain that comes out in that, which I don't think has come out in other of Beyonce's music. In a way, that's why I love this album, because it pulls down the veneer that perhaps Beyonce has constructed around herself for self-preservation. Unlike in other parts of her music, she's kind of pulling down the glossy facade, the kind of bad bitch energy, the feeling myself, that vibe. And she's reflecting on what this degree of fame, what this longevity in the industry has maybe taken from her. The things she's had to sacrifice to live this life. Yeah, and there's just so much about her, there's so much that's specific to her, like, I mean, I loved that, I don't know if you saw that on the Guggenheim, before Cowboy Carter was released, that they projected onto the Guggenheim, this isn't a country album, this is a Beyonce album. And in a way, it's true. This is, like, this song, when she says, it's been 38 summers and I'm not in my bed, it's kind of like, it's interesting that she says it's been umpteen summers and I'm not in my bed. And then through the song, she's kind of gained this clarity where she's like, no, it's been 38 summers. At 15, the innocence was gone astray. And she released her first song when she was 15. She recorded her first song when she was 15. So this really isn't just a country album. It's a Beyonce album. Like, this is an album where Beyonce is taking a look back at her life, and she's doing it through the musical vocabulary that speaks most to her, which is that from her roots, country. And I think that's why I'm so taken with it and so invested in it now, that I've made that kind of leap from trying to understand it as a country album when I don't listen to country music, and I honestly have no interest in country. I'm sorry, I don't. And so that was, to begin with, a barrier to me. But then when I looked beyond that and thought about it in different terms, I think it just has really captured my heart. And especially since this came out, as I was finishing my master's and as I was nearing the end of this exciting moment of change, difference, when I moved to New York and had all these opportunities that I hadn't had before, and I was away from home, I was in a different country. As I was preparing to come home, I too was considering, what do I sacrifice when I'm doing this really exciting thing? What am I losing in all of this newness, this experimentation? What do I love about it and what do I not love about it? And I was having to come to terms with all that. And I feel that listening to Beyonce consider, do I miss home? That's really seems to be like the question of the album is, do I miss home? And I was also asking, do I miss home? And like the answer, as it shows in, you know, as it takes several songs to work out, it's a complex answer to a complex question. What is that place to me now that I've left it? What speaks through me from that place still? And what do I miss from it? What do I actually maybe need from it at some points? Maybe that's what Beyonce was coming to the conclusion of as well. Anyway, this video is not meant to be me saying I'm Beyonce. Oh my god, I feel like it's coming across like I'm being like, and so in a way, I am Beyonce. That is not what I'm trying to do. Let's talk about the next track that I want to talk about, which is Protector, the next track. Okay, Protector. This song, and I just realized now, I'm telling you, the layers of this album are multiple, obviously, but they keep revealing themselves to me like a beautiful flower blossoming. It's like every time I look at this, there's new things. When I just said Protector, I realized it sounds like protect her. Maybe that wasn't anything that Beyonce was intending for, but Protector is very much a song about her daughter. It begins with the sound of, I'm assuming, Blue Ivy saying, "Mom, can I hear the lullaby, please?" And the way that the child's voice is kind of, it glimmers through into the music, almost like dappled light, you know, like when light comes through the trees, the sound comes to you like that, like it's kind of through a dream. There's a distance from her fame persona. Her daughter is at a distance from that, but she comes through, and she passes through that, the veneer that I was talking about. But this song I just think is completely gorgeous, and I completely overlooked it when I was first listening to Cowboy Carter. I was like, because I think this, you know, is track 4, and so at this point I was just trying to work out what the heck is this album. I can't work out this album, but this song, the more I listen to it, it is just like the most gorgeous lyricism. I'm just saying, go back to this song, go back to Protector, because it's a gorgeous lullaby and ode to motherhood. Like when she says, one of the most beautiful lyrics, let me just read this. I first saw your face in your father's gaze. There's a long line of hands carrying your name, lifting you up so you will be raised. I love that. And the way Beyonce's voice like kind of soars over those words. There's a long line of hands carrying your name. It's just a beautiful metaphor. Makes you think of ancestry, of all the people who come before you, who are pushing you forwards with their struggles, with their experiences. And Beyonce puts so much stock by the names, calling her Blue and the name of Blue, because I realized when I was talking to my friend recently in Alien Superstar in Renaissance, when she says, "Blue like the soul I crowned," she means Blue Ivy. Blue is the soul she crowned, and she also crowned her with a soul. She gifted her a soul, gave her life. So real sense of like motherhood. It's giving mother. Yes, I just wanted to say that because I really kind of overlooked Protector on my first listen, and this is one of those ones that's just really captured my heart the more I've listened to the album. So return to Protector, that's all I'm saying. I don't feel I need to talk about Texas Hold'em. I just don't quite understand. It's not Texas? Okay. So you can't hold them. Oh, okay. Anyway, Bodyguard that's everything to me. Yeah, I just love the vibe of it. It's so like sexy and sultry, and it's just Beyonce being like, girl, she's giving. The Dolly P and Jolene stuff is cute. It's cute. I like it. I like the whole, she hair flaming like the orb in here. It's the same color hair, just hurts just the same. Okay, that sounded more like Cher. This again is another thing of like, you know, it's a kind of a portrait of fame, and so paying homage to these famous country stars like Dolly P, like showing that you don't even have to say the full name to know who this person is because of the amount of fame. I think it's just another way of like, you know, Beyonce is so careful to pay attention to those who've come before her, and so I think that's a really cool thing to weave herself into this heritage. And the Jolene cover is cute, and I like that it's more of a warning than a plea. I think that's a cool flipping and inversion of the song's meaning. She's taking the power away from Jolene and she's reclaiming the power. Once again, I'm not talking about all the tracks, just the ones that really speak to me. Spaghetti is so... Ow, like Spaghetti makes me do that. Spaghetti, every time I hear it coming on with the whole... I can just like see already I can see the tour. Okay, I can see the tour, and I'm gagging. I will be gooning when Spaghetti comes on in the tour, because I will be going up. Where will I be going? Up. Like that. It gives me that every time. So anyway, I don't need to explain why Spaghetti is sickening, but it's also sickening because it's the first time that we have this kind of Linda Martell voiceover. I love that the song begins, genres are a funny little concept, aren't they? Yes, they are. Because saying genres so explicitly in the, like, it's just great that, you know, everybody getting ready for it was like, this is going to be a genre-bending album. This is not just a country album. It's a Beyoncé album, and it's going to move across genres. But I think it's genius to just have a song that begins with, like, genres are funny, aren't they? Some may feel confined. In practice, some may feel confined. And I love that. It states the thesis of the album. Okay, if we're thinking about this like an essay, this states the thesis of the album, which is that genres are confining, and Beyoncé is not playing by the rules in this album. Well, I love Levi's Jeans. Basically, all these ones in the middle, I love them. And you should just, I'm hoping this video, you know, inspires you to go back and listen to the album, listen to it the whole way through. Don't skip, don't shuffle, even though I'm not talking about every song. Going through it with this, you know, thinking about motherhood, fame, home, relationship with home, a look at America, but really more so a look at how America constructs fame culture. Going through it again with this in your mind. Then, okay, so then I would say that when we need to like tap back into like, this album is a genius, you might think I would say Yaya, and Yaya is cool and sickening, and it's another of those like genre bending things. But when we dip back into Oh Louisiana, basically from Oh Louisiana to the end of the album, I just think that those 7 songs, I could listen to them, just those 7, as like a mini album on repeat. Because Oh Louisiana has that kind of slow, that gives like just a car going through, you know, driving on by, not much to do, not much to see. It's very slow and sleepy, and I love that. It's like, it takes you right there. It like, there's something about the way that she's written these songs that just, it puts you in a place and you are there. Like, you feel it. You can almost smell the smells, and you can hear the sounds that she's like selling to you. It's so evocative of place. This is not just a celebration of Louisiana and, you know, American South. It's anything but, because the lyrics, I stayed away from you too long. I've chosen to leave you. And I've chosen to look for brighter future. And I've chosen to search out broader horizons. But there is something I'm losing by doing that. And then when she says, how can a true love go so wrong? I love that. How can true love go so wrong? It's even difficult to know exactly what she's talking about. Like, I see it as she's talking about her love of Louisiana, or maybe Louisiana as an idea, the southern states in general. How did the love we have for you go so wrong? Like, because of maybe political divides or other things that might have changed the way you look at your territory, your land, your place. And then, yes, going into Desert Eagle is a fun time, and I love the motif of the do-si-do. I love it. I love when she's doing that. Oh, that do-si-do, do-si. Oh, that do-si. I gag for that. I really do. It's sickening. It's lighthearted. It's joyous. Everything bigger in Texas. Hey. Big body, bust it open, feed you breakfast. I'm sorry, that's just delicious. I love when there's so much mention of food in this album as well, which you notice, which is lovely, because obviously there's so much about food that is homely. There are foods that you crave when you're away from home. And I love that she talks so much about breakfast. She's like, if you ain't got no grits, get out the South. Which, by the way, sorry Americans, I hated grits. I hated it when I had it. It tasted like It tasted like sawdust porridge, like you had made porridge from sawdust and then put salt in it, but not enough to make it tasty. So sorry Beyoncé, sorry Americans, but grits is horrible. So Riverdance, adore. I feel like Riverdance also kind of took off, so I don't think that's one that needs like reclaiming. Everybody loved the bounce on the dance, bounce on the dance. Oh, love. And I love as well that this like style of music in this, basically everything after Spaghetti kind of is injected with more of that Renaissance sensibility of like party in a way, and I love that because it shows how the two can coexist, like this sense of home, a longing for it, and the kind of city life party atmosphere that Beyonce has, you know, conjured up for herself. Two Hands to Heaven, gorgeous song. It's so long. It's so long. I would say too long, to be honest, and I would say just in general with this album, something that I think people struggle with is that the songs meander, for sure. I can't apologize for everything, and I cannot explain everything away. That's not my aim. But I will say that I understand that's why some people struggle with the album, and Two Hands to Heaven, for example, is one of the songs that does meander and go on a very long time, but it is so worth a re-listen. Even if you just re-listen to Two Hands to Heaven, this song makes me like, it makes me want to like touch grass. It makes me want to touch grass. It makes me want to lie on the ground, put my face in a meadow, and like breathe in the air. It's just beautiful. Like specifically something about the way the music and the lyrics dance together that just make this song just, it sings, it soars, it feels like a plea in a way. Like it feels like submitting to the land, to the earth itself, putting your hands to heaven. Like it's both a cheer and a party, but it's also like there's a word like supplication, like just giving yourself up to a higher being. And it really moves me, to be honest. So yes, re-listen to Two Hands to Heaven, please. Then what I love is that throughout the album, there's these moments of like a solemnness, a groundedness, a meditation, a kind of reflection on yourself. And then they are immediately like, the album constantly moves you through Beyonce's way of thinking. And then it has these moments of levity, lightness that kind of pull you out. And I love, after Two Hands to Heaven, moving into Tyrant. Tyrant, why are we not talking about Tyrant? That's all I have to add. That's my main question, actually. Why are we not talking about Tyrant? This is so good. Dolly Parton being back on the track saying, "Cowboy Carter, down a strike a match and light up this juke joint." That's how I need Dolly Parton to be dropped into this album, as if she's the kind of maitre d' of the whole party, this hoedown, and it should be like, "Cowboy Carter, down a light up this juke joint." Yes, Dolly. And then the one by one. It's the right beat, it's the right texture, it's the right crunchiness that you need to just pull you out of the Two Hands to Heaven funk. And then I love the kind of violin fiddle aspect of this, but it's kind of remixed, it's kind of fresh, like it is not just country, it's so modern in its own way. Giddy up, yeah, love all that. Just this vibe it's so good. It's so sexy, hips are so hypnotic, I am such a tyrant. The tyrant thing, it's a little difficult though, because that sense of tyrant, like violence, it's difficult. And it's just something, I guess I'll just pause now and talk on this, is that one thing I do think is odd about the album is that using this strong American imagery, specifically US imagery, like, because American can really refer to anything on the American continent, all the way from, you know, the tip of Canada down to Chile, like in the tip of South America. And so, like, it's really more US imagery. She's using very strong US imagery, and there is so much pain and displacement of Indigenous Americans and other groups wrapped up in that flag and in that meaning of the States. This whole thing is such a personal journey of Beyonce with her home and with the idea of America But since, and I know in American Requiem, she says there's a whole lot of red in that white and blue. Or maybe it's in Texas Hold'em. Oh, it's in Yah. She says there's a whole lot of red in that white and blue. You know, there's a lot of bloodshed in this, what this country stands for. But I think that the discourse around the album cover, the subsequent promotional material, it doesn't engage enough with that history, which is so fundamental to what the US is. And so I think that's a fair criticism of the album, and something that I can understand makes people feel uncomfortable listening to it or really engaging with it. The only reason I'm raising it now is just because this imagery of tyrant, I think, is a loaded one, and so I think requires a little more unpacking, perhaps. That would just be my thing. But I'm just saying that because, you know, this is a more extensive analysis of the whole thing, but the music itself of Tyrant, I live. So, Sweet Honey Buckin', girl. I hope this is another of those ones that I don't really need to explain why it's so genius, because it is so good. Look at that horse, look at that horse, look at that horse. This song is the one I listen to on repeat. This is the one that if I'm walking along and I don't have very long to get there, I only have, for example, 4 minutes and 57 seconds, I will be playing Sweet Honey Buckin', because it contains everything in it. It has all the juice of Cowboy Carter contained in it. It stands alone. I love it. It's got the country vibes, it has the party vibes, it has the Renaissance vibes that I've missed so much. I think of it as the last song of the album, and then Amen is kind of the bookend to the album. It's kind of like American Requiem and Amen stand together as bookends. So I think of this kind of as the last original song of the album, and I love that it's so about, the lyrics literally, I'm coming home, we've come a long way from the rough ride, from the railroads to the rodeos, sweet country home. I'm coming home, we've come a long way, and I'm coming home. After the long introspection that Beyoncé invites us into throughout Cowboy Carter, it just is so packed with sentiment. It's beautiful. And it's just funny that she manages to put that in amongst a metaphor of a bucking bronco. Bucking. Whoa. It's so good. So good. You can dance and feel stuff. You can do it both. And that is so important. So then the album finishes with Amen. And I love this. I think it's a beautiful way to come back to the original ideas of American Requiem, but it kind of takes them to a new place. It's almost and I love that the sounds of Sweet Honey Buckin' kind of bleed into this one, and so it's kind of we're bringing something new with us, and there's a new sense of hope. And so when this song comes to its kind of conclusion with "Say a prayer for what has been, we'll be the ones that purify our father's sins. American Requiem, them old ideas are buried here. Amen." So I feel here it's we're not talking about those big ideas anymore. We're calling them by what they are, those old ideas. They're antiquated. We're saying a prayer for what has been, what has come before. And I love the line. I spoke about the darker parts of America's history, that it feels often that Beyonce's album doesn't get to the meat of. In this song, the lyrics, "This house was built with blood and bone, and it crumbled. Yes, it crumbled. The statues they made were beautiful, but they were lies of stone. They were lies of stone." So I think even if people have struggled with the imagery that Beyonce's using, this really is the heart of the message she's saying. They were lies of stone. In the end, the message is very powerful. It's a wonderful way to end the album because it faces us towards what's to come next. So anyway, yes, here's just my unsolicited opinion on why I think Cowboy Carter is really a worthy successor to Renaissance, but also a beautiful and rich story of its own, which has value for everyone who listens to it. I think the more personal aspects of it, the fact that it is so unique to Beyonce's experience, makes it more than just an album that's celebratory of America or critical of America. It's not anything so simple. As an album, it feels like, to me, the closest we've gotten to her, the most human she has been with us. So thank you so much for joining me. This was a much longer ramble than I intended for it to be, but it's been so lovely actually to just talk through my feelings on the album, and I hope you found it interesting or in some way enlightening, or I hope it made you think, you know what, yes, Cowboy Carter does deserve another hour of my life. Watch this space. Thank you so much for joining me today. I intend to be rambling about more things. I would really love to talk about some of my favorite exhibitions and museum visits I've had recently, because since that's kind of my main thing, but I thought it would be fun. I just felt inspired today. I just felt inspired by Cowboy Carter. The spirit moved through me and I just had to get my thoughts out. So I'm glad I've done it. It kind of felt like a barrier to record my first video, and I'm glad that it felt right. I'm glad I did it, and I'm glad Beyoncé joined me on the journey, and I'm glad you did too. I hope to see you again soon, and stay tuned. Alrighty, bye. Dining on farce is hilarious because every time she says pretty as hell or natural, dining on farce, I always hear dining on arse. I'm sorry, I hear dining on arse, but she's an ally. Real allies go that far.